Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everyone and everything in between. Welcome to the Stay Positive podcast. Alex here.
You ever realize that I feel like every single time you do the intro, it's so jovial and so happy. It's bubbly as ever.
I mean,
Hello.
we're called the Stay Positive podcast.
Alright, I'm just messing with you.
It's what's wrong with being jovial, Pete? I'm
There's
happy.
absolutely nothing, man. I'm happy that you're happy.
Thank you, Pete. I couldn't ask for more. Anyway,
I'll take it away. I absolutely love everybody, or not I. Alex and I absolutely love every single one of you that listens.
You're
we just
talking
hit
about the thing.
Yeah, the thing. So for my people on Instagram, whether it's close friends, family, or someone I haven't spoken to in 5 years, if you listen, we appreciate you. We just hit the 1K downloads mark. Really happy about that one. It's our first major milestone. For the people that actually saw my post, they know that I put a rocket ship next to a 5K as our next stop. Also, I am announcing this for the first time ever. If we get to 5K in May,
You're doing this?
I'm most definitely, I talked about this with Alex, I've made the emotional decision. I'm going to shave my head.
I mean,
So,
I will not be partaking in this wager with you, audience. Actually, should I?
no, absolutely not. You shouldn't. Because my hair is super long. For people that don't know, I used to have short hair that kind of not the military, but a little longer than the Marines
Yeah, yeah.
military crew cut, fade on the sides, everything. And over the last 9 to 10 months, I've grown my hair to the point that it's almost on my shoulders. And
Yeah.
people are like, don't ever cut your hair again. And I just say to that, well, if this podcast
if this
goes
does well,
to the moon just like Bitcoin, then maybe we'll have to cut my hair. and
Bitcoin
just
is
shave it.
relatively down, Pete. You let me down. Though.
Okay, don't worry. We'll talk about it soon. with
Yeah,
some other
another
people.
podcast with some experts.
But yeah, anyways, keep showing the love. We love everybody that wants to spread their good vibes and positivity on the real note. And yeah, it's just
And we
we're
hope
trying to give that vibe off always.
Yeah, and we hope you love us too. Thank you.
Without further ado, Alex, do you want to tell me and the audience what you sent me the other day?
Oh, okay. So we're talking about this now. So I saw in recent news, I saw Twitter is getting a lot of backlash. Now Twitter is a place, let's put it nicely. It's a place
A
where
cesspool.
that was the word I wanted to avoid saying, but since it's out there, yes, it is a cesspool of very loud, passionate people. Let's put it nicely.
Yeah.
And so, drama on Twitter is like breathing air, it's not anything new, but this time they were getting big headlines. Twitter is getting canceled, which is the biggest joke because Twitter is like the headquarters of cancel culture. So just when you read a title that says Twitter is getting canceled, it's like, wait, is it happening? Is it finally gone full circle? Are we finally reaching the point of no return? And so I looked into it, and Twitter is in a bit of a lawsuit right now. They're going through some trouble. They do have some of my sympathy, emphasis on some, because when you have such a big site and there are billions or trillions of posts, it's impossible to manage that by hand manually. So obviously they have a lot of automated services put into place, but I guess we should just rip the band-aid off. They were guilty of hosting child pornography, and when the victim asked them to try and remove it, they refused. And it was only after the child went through several weeks or maybe months, I forget, because the first time they requested was in 2019, December, so that's a long time. And they only finally removed the content of the minor's explicit activities when a federal officer, stepped in and intervened, saying you need to do this or you're violating federal law. And basically a lot of the news outlets, they were basically saying how Twitter's policies did not see a violation with child pornography being put on the site, which,
That's disgusting.
yeah, that's not a good image, I'd say.
Dude, that, oh my god. Yeah, when I watched that video at first, because my friend told me something about another really, really bad thing that Twitter does. And this is so funny because it comes back to the social dilemma. So I was with one of my buddies from high school yesterday, and he was telling me how Twitter got into some deep stuff, I don't know how long ago, because of an algorithm that they wrote that does facial recognition according to your skin tone on the page and how it contrasts with the rest of the content. So that algorithm is, to put it lightly, inherently discriminatory, because it will literally, if you take two different people with two different skin tones, one person has darker skin tone, one person has lighter skin tone. Obviously, if they're trying to do more contrasting, not facial, it just contrasts their skin to the page, and so it will literally put certain pictures above others because that quote unquote generates more viewership because it looks not appealing to the human eye, but it's more eye-catching because of the contrast. So something like this happened where there was a person that posted a tweet, and he had, I think, a picture of a white person and a black person, and he put them in different order every single time. He had like maybe 7 pictures. I forget the number of pictures. He had an X amount of pictures, and he tweeted every single time a different order of the pictures. Like, you know, when you're tweeting something, you could put stuff in different order.
Yeah.
So he put it in a different order every time. And every single time that the tweet actually sent out and was uploaded and whatever, the same thing would happen where they would put the white person above the black person.
Yeah, but that's color contrast, so I'm sure whatever the background is for the black person, if they change the background...
No. The point is, I think the background was the same. It was just basically based on skin tone.
I mean, the way you describe it is it's based on the contrast of both the skin tone and the background.
Yeah, well, you're looking at this as a computer scientist, which is like really simply, and that's how I looked at it first. But then at the same time, I was like, wait.
Well, if they're doing
think
this...
broader picture right now.
Yeah, no, of course. If they're doing this, this sounds like some smart, wise guy saying, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we create an algorithm that, like, manages to, like, pick out the perfect picture based on color contrast and some artsy nonsense? And they probably, like all good things in technology, it was probably created with like a good intention, and it turns out, wait a minute, that actually doesn't turn out so good in practice.
That's why programming is so hard, because there is always going to be a bug, even if there is no bugs.
Yeah, this isn't even a bug. This is just like, well, this is the result. This wasn't our intention, but now what?
Welcome to social media.
Anywho, what's
the
point? Why bother? Wait, no, I know the point. Money. You said it yourself. The point is to get more views.
Yeah.
The social dilemma might as well be a Bible at this point.
Anyways.
It was an algorithm created for the sole purpose of getting your attention to last longer on social media. That's literally what it's for.
It sucks, dude. It sucks.
I mean, and this might,
we need to write better algorithms, in my opinion. We just need
to... okay. Good idea, P. You want to start?
But I'd love to. I'm trying to. There needs to be some more. There needs to be some action taken in a positive way.
In a positive way.
No, I'm not even trying to make a pun. I'm saying...
No, it's true. But, like, here's the thing. When social media started, it was very simple, like, what the changes needed to be made to make it better. Like, just quality of life changes, But as, like, the changes get better and better, the amount you can improve goes down. It's the diminishing law of return,
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know what that is, let me just use a very simple example that I heard in college. So if you didn't have any food and you're starving and you were given one slice of pizza, your level of happiness would go up substantially. You would be assuming you like pizza, it would go up a lot, like a really significant amount. If you were given 2 slices of pizza, it would go up even higher. And if you were given 3, it'd go a little bit higher, 4, even a little bit higher. But now the question is, if you were given 1,000,000 pizzas, how happy would you be? And then if you were given 1,000,001 pizzas, how happy would you be? And the difference, the rate of happiness improvement from 1,000,000 to 1,000,001 is a lot lower than from 0 to 1. Even though the difference is the same, how much happiness you get isn't significantly changed. Another example is just money. If you went from $0 to $1, you've made infinitely more money. Whereas if you go from $1,000,000 to $1,001, technically you are more rich. You have more money, but you probably won't be more happy simply because of that. Whereas going from 0 to 1, you would be more happy. So what I'm saying is, for social media, when social media started, it was very basic, and the improvements were to make just the experience better. Combining with smartphone technology, they just kept improving like the interactivity with the people. But like, this is like, we're 15 years in the future, whenever the first social media, like 2006, 5, 4, whenever the first social media. Now what can they do to get more money? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and you know a bit about business. Like, is there a problem with businesses stagnating, like not constantly growing but just staying where they are?
Not really.
So why is there such a business culture desire to grow and grow and grow?
People expect constant economic growth, and so people have that mentality when they go into business as well. A lot of times, just look at a little mom and pop small business, on your average small business in the city, that we'll say a pizza shop, little rundown shack. They're not trying to expand and monopolize the whole pizza market in the US, right? They're just making what they can from that little corner in the city on Madison Ave or something, and then they do it because it's something that's run in the family, or they love the community and they just want to provide the best quality pizza they can.
Yeah, but that restaurant business is intricate. But
Okay.
like,
what about a thrift shop? There aren't. A Goodwill is one very small example of a huge chain, but thrift shops, they're small businesses. Bagel shops. Yeah, dude.
I thought thrift shops were
bagel
like
shops. Think of anything. My point is that they don't try to expand. Their purpose is not to expand and
it's
grow
just to
and everything.
exist and survive.
Yes, exactly. You want to make some money, and then that's it. Or well, not make some money. Rather, you want to generate some business. You want to generate cash flow from
Enough
this small business.
to last.
And that's it. And your whole purpose for existing as a small business is to cater to the community that already knows you, and hopefully that community can tell other people about you, and they can share in that love of whatever you're selling.
But what happens when you transcend small business to corporate overlord?
Well, that's the thing. That's my point. The corporate side, the big businesses, their purpose is to grow, and at least most of them is, and the ones that don't anymore, they're just kind of there. Like GM, for instance, is a perfect example. They're not growing right now. They're a car company. If anything, they're maybe shrinking. They fired a lot of people because of the pandemic. They got rid of a lot of people. But yeah, there are a bunch of companies right now that have been around for a long time. They just haven't grown, either because it's not strategically right for them, or they don't have the means and capabilities to do so,
I guess.
So I found an article on The Verge that talks about the Twitter algorithm. So it was a neural network. And basically most of the stuff I said was right, except it wasn't a post. It was more of the thumbnail image, not like YouTube thumbnail, but it was the thing that you put.
The preview image or something.
Yeah, in a way. And it had to do with cropping the photo as well. And a person basically found that on Zoom, something similar was happening. Zoom's facial recognition was not showing
darker skin tones.
Yeah, the face of a black colleague on calls. And so he was like, what the hell is going on? He takes to Twitter, and the same thing happens. And yeah, Twitter, I mean, the worst part is I found it really hard to find this article because I was searching while you were talking about the law of diminishing returns, and I had to just scour the internet to find this, which means
They don't want you knowing about
no,
this.
they don't, which is sad. This is really sad. I mean, this is important stuff.
It's not to them. The
Yeah.
less you know, the better.
Yeah, and this brings us back to the thing before. I mean, that explicit content, I just don't understand why, as a huge company that you're supposed to monitor the safety of your traffic. You're not supposed to monitor the speech necessarily unless it's a danger to the people, but at least being and keeping a safe community, I feel like that's just paramount of what your responsibilities are as a company like Twitter.
Yeah, but the problem is if they act as the judge, jury, and executioner, then they decide what's good and what's bad.
Yeah, of course.
Which
And-
means they can tell you something that's perfectly innocent is a bad thing.
No, of course. I don't mean that they need to be the gate. Or no, rather, I do mean they need to be the gatekeeper. I don't think they need to be the one that decides what is good and bad. I think they just need to make sure that, for lack of better analogies, like a
Pete, listen to me. I just came up with like a really crazy, stupid idea. But like,
Okay.
I want you to hear me out. So, this goes back to loot boxes. So in loot boxes, one suggested idea was to get like third-party companies to review like loot box algorithms and such to make sure it's like not akin to gambling and it doesn't manipulate children. So basically get someone else to, what's the word? Not limit, to to check, to not redistribute. It's
just finish your thought because you're gonna lose it.
no, I have my thought. It's clear. So basically, if you got a third party company to check and monitor and take care of, because in real casinos you have third parties that go into the machines, to the slot machines, and they check like, is this legal? Is this up to code? Is it like standard issue? Is it not being rigged? Whereas loot boxes, regulation, that's the word. Loot boxes currently are not regulated. They are the company who makes them is the one who decides how they're implemented, each one. So one suggested idea was get a third party to review and regulate this stuff. Since you're not going to do it properly, obviously, let someone else do it. So this got me, right now, this instant, I had a crazy idea. So you were talking about gatekeeping and all that good stuff. What if, hear me out, what if we had companies designed, like, and they, of course, this has to be like passed by law, by the government. But what if you had third-party companies and there was a law put in place that companies like Facebook and Twitter need to have someone else be the gatekeeper, or someone else be the either to share in the responsibility or to have someone else responsible for dealing with this. So that way they lose their power a little bit, you know what I'm saying?
I can't find anything right now of any companies that exist like this.
No, it doesn't exist.
I feel like they should.
It doesn't exist because it's not against the law, because it's a private company. That's the excuse that's popular on the internet nowadays.
I mean, it is against the law.
It's not against the law. You don't need a third-party regulator for social media. You can be the regulator. Twitter doesn't need another company to tell them to monitor their stuff or to do things. They're the ones in charge of it. The same with Facebook, the same probably with Instagram. There's no one else. It's just them, and they might outsource it to like Southeast Asian countries, but for the main part it's their company. And they decide what's right and what's wrong. And as we just established, if they're the judge, jury, and executioner, who's to stop them from saying what's right is wrong and what's wrong is right? This example of the implicit child actions, where it was a year it took for like action to be taken or something, And it's just like, why did it take a year? It takes them like 5 seconds to like copyright strike like music that owns an artist, but actual like illegal activity that was reported. Like this isn't like just like lurking around in there. Like the victim literally came and asked them politely, and their mother said, "Could you like take this down, please?" And they said, "We've reviewed the content and we are not gonna take it down." It's like, wait, excuse me?
Can I also say I'm having a lot of trouble finding that article of the article that the person on that YouTube video you sent me.
It's almost like Google doesn't want you to know.
It's literally almost like the search engine optimization here is very prioritizing not slandering social media.
Google would be a lot harder to regulate.
Oh my gosh, dude.
But like, I feel like this is it. This is the step. The way monopolies existed back in the day, and you needed antitrust laws and all that good stuff. This is the new step. This is the evolution of that. No, Pete, because like you just said it yourself. It's like they're the ones in charge of deciding right and wrong, and they can abuse that.
Yeah.
You know, I know, shocking, right? But they could abuse that power.
Shocking.
Myanmar can speak on your behalf.
Dude, the problem is that there's just this whole power dynamic here. You know, if you give this power to another person, or not another person, a third party, a completely unaffiliated third party, they're the ones that are now becoming that same thing that Twitter has essentially just held under their roof. Honestly, I'd be damned if Twitter didn't have just a whole department dedicated to this whole gatekeeping action, fact checking. Same thing at Facebook, same thing at all the other social media sites. I'd literally put all my Bitcoin on the fact that they probably have a department that handles this stuff alone.
You'd be surprised, but
No, really, because
no,
nowadays
you would
they
be
have
surprised. They have bots for that. You think and they have people creating those bots. As for actual people,
that's my point.
Oh, okay.
That is what they do.
Yeah, but like bots are very limited.
That's my other thing. I thought that the really disturbing part about the video you sent me was that it sounded like a bot answered, which is so bad, dude.
I mean, they get reports all the time. And I'm sure some of them are not even like valid reports. So how can they monitor it? You know, it's very difficult, obviously. But the point is, you know, there needs to be a way to stop them from like having all the power over this, because we need to face facts. This is a powerful thing. Like the transferring of information has been history's honestly one of its strongest weapons. Yeah. Obviously this technology can't force you how to think, but it can definitely help influence what you're going to think about. It can definitely paint a picture that may or may not be the actual truth. You know, there's a word for it. It's called propaganda. And honestly, I don't want to say everything on Twitter is propaganda, but like I think biased is a pretty appropriate word for the like, how many unbiased people, like regardless of what you want to affiliate with, can you really call, if you're on Twitter, can you really call yourself an unbiased person? Like, honest to God?
Honestly, I think the only people that are on Twitter for unbiased reasons are the ones that
watch the Flames
solely. I guess that's a very even smaller fraction of people, but I mean the people that are there for just memes.
That too, yeah.
Because hey, like we said, Twitter's a cesspool, so
memes will save the world.
Yeah, my friends send me stuff on Twitter, memes all the time, and I'm just never looking at it. So I apologize to you guys, but keep doing it anyway.
Honestly, memes are gonna like save the world. It's gonna happen.
I don't know about that necessarily.
How else like do people keep their sanity? Laugh through the apocalypse.
Nah, I think there are better ways to do it, but we don't have to get into that. You mentioned that other thing. So also related to this on a similar subject, Twitter banned Antifa. You mentioned that to me.
Yeah,
correct?
They started banning a lot of accounts recently.
So that's pretty interesting. because
Strange timing, I know.
it is really weird timing considering
We're past January 20th. For those of you who
yes.
don't know what's special about that date, look it up.
Yeah, I don't get it. I mean, it just seems that social media is being used to push agendas so much.
No.
And honestly, dude, it's weird because they're pushing the agendas from the inside. Not
Yeah.
only people on the outside are trying to do it, but people on the inside are pushing their own agendas as well.
There's no proof on that, so I won't make any claims.
Yeah,
about that.
I'm making a really bold claim, but that's how it seems as an outsider myself looking on. And keep in mind, I'm a very big user of social media, but I know where to draw the line with the stuff that I look at.
Yeah.
And I feel
You
like a lot
moderate
of,
yourself.
yeah, very much so. If anything, actually, I'm the one person that moderates to the extreme because I know that, for instance, when I'm in season, I delete all my social media because I just know that if I keep it, I'm just going to completely lose focus. So I plan on doing that real soon as well, except for when I have to announce to the world that
You're cutting your hair.
No. I mean that we have a podcast dropping
Oh,
every week.
yeah. That too.
I'm not afraid to admit this, but I will literally download it once a week and then just delete it again.
The podcast?
For that purpose, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But anyways, no.
How else do
Pushing agendas.
How else will we get 1,000 downloads?
1,000 downloads in a week. No. My point is pushing the agendas is really, it's
powerful.
it's really powerful, and that brings me to something that you also mentioned before, which is this guy Yuri Bezmenov.
Yeah,
he was a Soviet defector. Is it correct?
Yeah, and
to say that?
he defected in 1970.
You want to tell me a little bit about it? I watched a video that you showed me a little bit, but
Yeah. So once again, we're the Stay Positive podcast where we promote positivity and free thought. So, the last thing I ever want to do is try and convince someone to believe anything I say. I'd rather they come to their own conclusions based on information.
yeah. With that being said, also, I did not take this whole video to heart. I'm still a little torn on it, trying to rationalize a counter example still. So
Yeah.
after you explain, I'll try to destroy you.
You'll try. Yuri Bezmenov is a Soviet defector, so he left the Soviet Union, he came to America, and he was an expert on a lot of political things.
Mhm.
And he saw how the KGB, the secret police of the Soviet Union, how they operated, or how he claims anyway. But that's that. Just take it. If you ever listen to him, you can come to your own conclusion. But so basically, he was describing how the totalitarian regime of the Soviet Union was able to be successfully put into place. He called it.
It was 4 phases.
No. But what was he called it? Social diversion
or subversion.
Subversion, or psychological warfare. How fitting. And he said it comes in 4 phases. The first phase is demoralization, and it lasts 15 to 20 years according to him. And the reason it lasts that long is because that's how long it takes to teach an entire generation. So his notion is basically, when you're teaching an entire generation, you can teach them about all that's quote unquote wrong with your society, and you can teach them what you think is wrong personally, which can demoralize people. You'll give them, with this kind of tactic, you can potentially teach kids the wrong thing. You can teach them to believe in problems that don't exist, and try and, I'm not saying that happens all over the world, but that's what potentially can happen if you utilize this tactic, is teaching kids the wrong problems, or teaching them made up problems, and they won't know any better because that's all they're going to learn for 15 years. And then they become adults, and then what was the next one? Destabilization?
Yeah.
Or So now this stage takes like a couple of years where the people the people who've been taught for 15 years about all the quote unquote problems with the world, they're now starting to take action. And they reach a point where it doesn't matter how much fact you show them, it doesn't matter how much evidence, it doesn't matter how much proof you give them that what they think and the problems they're thinking are wrong, they won't believe you, they won't listen to you. And not to say that was relevant last year, but that was kind of a theme
Relevant last year.
that was kind of relevant last year about people, no matter how much evidence you give, they adamantly say that's just not true. And the example he gave, or somewhat story he gave, was basically even if you brought like a believer into the Soviet Union and showed him or her the dictatorship and how horrible life was in the Soviet Union, they'd say that's not true. Even if you like show it point blank in their face, they've reached a point where they're so disillusioned from 15 years of being taught a certain thing that even when you show that thing is wrong, they won't listen and they won't believe in you. And then the third step, I forget the name of the third step. Crisis. So he describes crisis as a few weeks. It only takes a few weeks to overthrow an entire society, an entire government. And the point is, tensions reach such a high point that the disillusioned people now step into action and they take over all the people that quote unquote lived in the troubled society, the society that had so many problems that they spent 15 years learning. Now they're finally stepping in to take action and overthrow it and make society a better place, or so they think. And then comes step 4, which is stabilization.
Normalization.
Or normalization.
It's the same thing, yeah.
Anyway, so normalization or stabilization, whatever, same difference. The point of this step is now the previous government has been overthrown, and now the new government that all you 15-year-old studied people have now put into place. And what happens now is that government that you've supported for 15 years and you've trusted and you've put your heart and soul into believing, they take the military and say, thank you for your help. We have now secured a safe future. Goodbye. And that's when, after how many? Like close to 25 years of you devoting your whole life to that new government, you come to the shocking revelation, wait a minute, these guys are the bad guys. But only after.
Okay.
Never before. And that's the tragedy he described. It's like, no matter how hard you try and convince these people that if you keep going down this route, it'll lead to disaster, they won't listen until the gun is held at their face, which is unfortunate.
I understand. So
that's what he believes, but that's just how he explained it. So take that as you will.
I mean, it makes sense when you look at it in the context of a larger government system. I don't think it applies necessarily to socialist Soviet Union or communist Soviet Union, basically. But
what do you mean it doesn't apply?
No, I just don't think that it can be applied to every possible like different.
It's not the normal. That's not what happens all over the world, obviously, but it is a tactic. Of course, like communist Soviet Union and this psychological warfare, this is not like the normal per se. This isn't happening all over the world, you can take off your tinfoil hats, but this is at least what the defector said, Yuri Bezmenov said, this is a valid tactic. It's a strategy.
I suppose it makes sense when you're trying to overthrow a system in place. In general, I mean, actually, to be fair, I think that's how most revolutions occur.
Yeah, but some of them happen naturally. Like for example, the downfall of the Soviet Union, that didn't need propaganda. People were just tired and they've had enough. You understand? So there's a difference between having a revolution because your world is actually like horrible, like you're starving in the street and poor and miserable, versus you being like a middle class, perfectly fine person, but you spent 15 years being told how bad life really is. So now, I mean, you have to think about it, like 15 years of being told your life sucks. What do you think you're gonna think after 15 years? You're gonna think, yeah, my life, you know what? You're right. My life does suck. We need to do something about this. Now do that times a couple million, and there you go. Overthrown society.
Look, it makes sense in a larger context of a overlying
Yeah,
or just complete system that's overall
countries, yeah,
people's heads.
big empires, dictatorships. It makes sense
Yeah,
to
you
some
you could
sense.
apply it to both sides. I don't think that's an issue. I think what I
Well, we didn't say
what
this
I
was
don't
like.
I don't what I don't like necessarily is the fact that he didn't have a lot of, because I'm always a data person anyway, so I just want more examples of why this stuff applies.
He gave you like five.
No, he gave me 5 steps. He
No,
didn't
no, no.
give
He
me.
gave you Nicaragua. He gave you Bangladesh. He gave you a couple other Central American countries. You know, he literally said this happened already
Oh, okay, okay,
in other
okay, okay.
countries. But you know, it makes sense. It happened in the Soviet Union, at least according to him. And maybe he's lying. You know, I won't deny that possibility. But I've struggled really hard with understanding why he would lie about this.
I don't think he's lying at all. I mean, if anything,
Like the
he's just trying to spread the facts because he defected from the country,
Yeah,
so
he's
he
literally
has
a wanted man.
absolutely everything to lose, including his life.
Yeah,
So he has no reason to lie.
and the KGB are literally the secret police. Like, we weren't supposed to know they exist. You know what I'm saying? Like, but we know they exist. I understand survival of the fittest, I get, but there comes a point as human beings, we're not animals, you know, we shouldn't, well, we're not, we're not
This
uncivilized.
is you had to struggle there to figure out a way to describe us that still doesn't apply to where we came from, which is fish. We came from fish.
Well, we came from single-celled organisms first, but so you can make the argument we're all brain dead anyway. So
Oh.
yeah, it's it's scary. You know, you don't know if should this ever happen, that's going to be like a brand new time, and humanity will survive. All these regimes, totalitarian dictatorships. It's not like humans go extinct. People will live on. You just need to be like extremely careful about what you say.
Yeah.
Which is funny because Twitter exists where the filter is borderline it's off.
Well, there's no such thing as a filter anymore. You don't are funny enough. I feel as though people are way more unfiltered now, but there are so many people that
Get
have
offended.
an opinion. Yeah, or either they get offended or they have an opinion about what somebody has to say always. Whereas in the past, I think I was talking about this with a family member yesterday actually, because we were saying he said something to me, and then he's like, "Wait, I don't want to offend you in any way," and I was like, "Don't just keep talking.
I mean,
Don't worry.
You gotta play it safe.
So what I think is really happening is that a lot of people in the past, they
just kept it to themselves.
no, I think there hasn't been a change with how people in the past basically said stuff versus now. I think it's just that in the past there weren't people that were there to say you're wrong or I don't like this opinion or XYZ, you know? Versus nowadays there is such an easily transmitted information store that essentially allows people to do that almost instantaneously.
The luxury of
The luxury.
social media.
I
because
wouldn't blame social media. I would just blame technology.
technology, yeah, because
It's so ironic because
before-
huge technologist, but
yeah, because before you were limited to your community, obviously. You could only share your opinions to like the handful of people you live next to.
mm-hmm.
Whereas now I can literally say whatever I want to literally anyone I want in the entire globe with zero consequence if I go anonymous. So That's power. And with power comes abuse of power. But that's
Do not abuse your power.
do not abuse your power, and don't take things personally. Like even if you meet the most vile, vitriolic person who genuinely is trying to say something to make you upset, is it worth it? Is that person really worth your time and energy? Like, honest to God, does that person really warrant your time, your energy, and your self-esteem? Like, should that person get to you? Like, honest to God, I don't think so. It's
I
not
don't
worth
think
it.
so either. If you could find ways to just block the noise out, I feel like you're so set emotionally. I had someone also the other day tell me that this is not to toot my own horn because you know I don't do that, but they were like, "You're very emotionally stable." She said that to
I
me.
love how that's a compliment, not the normal. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
No. I'm saying it for the purpose of
yeah.
I try to employ this whole thing where if someone says something, if someone hates, honestly, like if someone hated on this podcast, I'd be like, okay, thanks. Tell me why you hate it.
That's the thing. Why? No one says why. It's like, I don't like this. It's like, okay, I appreciate that thought. Can you explain? Can you elaborate? Can you give me literally one single reason you don't like it?
Yeah,
And
that's all I
that
want.
never happens. They'll usually say, it's like, I won't do the voice anymore. They'll usually just say something along the lines of, oh, you're just a hater. You're just a bot. You're just a... You don't know what you're saying. You know, I know what I'm saying. My belief is right. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, because of the tribalistic nature of social media, where it's all about validation and likes and retweets and all this stuff, it's like, even when someone says the dumbest thing in the world, there will be people liking that and like promoting and being like, I agree. And it's like, that person now has a tens to hundreds to maybe thousands of people saying you're right. So that person's going to believe they're right even when they're dead wrong.
Mm.
And honestly, as this might be, I don't know if rude is the word, but like, is it even their fault anymore at some point?
Whose?
The instigator, the people saying violent things or bad, very controversial things. Are they a product of their social environment, or are they just bad people?
Ooh, I mean,
We can talk
Put
about
it-
that next week. It's a
we-
good topic, I think.
we could. I don't know.
It's hard
That's hard.
because I already told you the Mike Tyson quote, and I already said on a previous podcast,
Yeah.
and that like social media and technology has basically made people comfortable with saying mean things and not getting punched in the face for it.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that's so true. If you had the risk of getting punched by Mike Tyson, you probably wouldn't say a word. You probably wouldn't dare open your mouth.
Yeah.
But on the internet, you can say whatever you want and get away with it.
Basically. So instead of spreading hate, instead of spreading bad news, agendas, all the bad stuff in the world, why don't we just try a little bit harder to spread some positivity?
It's all a boy could ever ask for.
With that being said,
Stay positive, everyone. And we'll see you next week.